Hello, and thank you for joining me tonight. I go by Lunanate, and this is a sharing sort of video. I'm going to share some of my thoughts with you, see if they resonate, maybe something for you to think about. But this is a subject that's been on my mind a lot lately, which is diversity, specifically in this case for me, neurodiversity. But in general, I mean diversity of all sorts and individual uniqueness, I guess you could say. What's just to give you a background on what's been inspiring these thoughts in my mind lately. My son is about to go into kindergarten, so we're doing a lot of these like transitional school things for him right now, like making sure we know what school he's going to, meeting with teachers, all stuff like that. It's pretty typical for the most part. However, and I've shared this before, my son's on the autism spectrum. So it's really, for me personally, like just me, and every parent is different, every person is different, but all of this school stuff and just, thinking more focusedly on my son, I guess, as of recently, I'm pretty much always focused on him, so, but just recently more thinking about this kind of stuff because it comes in waves, like you have to deal with some things, and it'll kind of really draw your attention to the fact that he is diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. Personally, my thoughts are it's freaking awesome. Like, I wouldn't change a thing about him. I love everything about him, and I love his autism because it's part of him and it makes him unique in his way, and it has to do with how his brain is formed and the wiring and all of that. And I love him so much. I love everything about him. So I'm not saying that it's a struggle for me. I'm sure that a lot of parents have different needs and different issues, but thankfully myself and his father are very supportive in the sense of we want him to be happy, want him to do what interests him, we want him to succeed in whatever way that works for him, and we don't hold him back in any way. My thoughts on the whole changing of the mind right now. I know that the autism spectrum has been around forever, I'm sure. I don't know enough about it that way and like its history, but I see what it's doing to this time in our lives, this time in our solar system, and I'm very supportive of the idea of just the fact that we all communicate differently, and that's okay. And we're gonna have to change how we think and adapt and be more fluid in a sense, to not just accommodate everyone, because it goes beyond that, but just understand that there's very different methods of communication and expression and what people find really interesting, and just everything. All of our personality, all of the things about us are all unique to all of us. Now, this doesn't have to apply, strictly speaking, to the autism spectrum or diversities in that way. This is just kind of what got me thinking about it more. But diversity comes in so many levels, and I feel like and I've seen this from when I was younger until now, and it's becoming much more clear to me now that we've got this need to label and fit people into boxes and group people. And I understand that this has a lot to do with school, like how children are going to be placed in school, maybe if it's on that line, what kind of support they might need, and then grouping into like a medical sort of category of some kind to see like what services someone might get, or I don't know, things like that, different supports that they might get. But other than that, and even that, it's not like I'm not saying I 100% agree with that style. I don't know what a better option is right now, but it's not to say it feels like necessarily wonderful. But regardless, overall, as people, we're constantly needing to classify, to identify, to be like, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're this, and you have to fit into like these boxes. And it's probably part of like a coping mechanism of some kind that we all have within us. It helps us to better understand, in a way, our world, or just the people in our world. But it's so much bigger than that. And I feel like that's truly part of the blessing of being exposed to such diversity and getting to know people who do things differently is that it helps you to change the way that you think as well. So what do I mean by that? For example, I have acquaintances or people I know who don't really go out. They're homebodies. They're very much homebodies, and they build more meaningful relationships online through like gaming consoles or whatever stuff like that, where they have a really strong bond, and they've never met this person, the people that they kind of connect with, they've never met them in person, but they've developed these relationships, and that's where their friends are, and that's how they communicate, and it's easier for them to communicate that way. Same goes for people who like to text. Sometimes it's hard for people to talk on the phone, and I feel like we get this kind of down, like looking down on it or like calling it out or something like, oh, this person, they only text me, they won't like call me, they don't want to talk to me. And it's like, well, some people just communicate better that way. It's more comfortable for them. Like, why is that such a bad thing? If you're happy in what you do and how your relationships are, then what other people say and do like really doesn't matter. And this goes, of course, beyond relationships. This can be the way you dress, which is, very simple in a sense, but the way that you are, the types of relationships that you like, the foods that you like, the way that you do things. Tying it back into my son a little bit, I feel like his extreme, just how his mind is and his strength there, and knowing that there are many other individuals out there with, I don't want to say similar as in the same, but with unique minds, with minds that think differently maybe than what the typical person would think like, or someone who does not have or is not on the autism spectrum. And how I feel about that is we have this older history. It's not like ancient, but like this history, I don't know, like baby boomer time, something like that, that has kind of paved the way for putting people in boxes, organization of individuals in a way, and the way that they think. And I don't mean all of them, I'm just saying like as a collective, the way that we've done things, whether that's the school system, healthcare, farming, and leading more to like factory farming, all of these things that we can pretty much say need some work, like whether you support them or not, you could definitely probably agree with me that like all of this stuff needs work. And we're not going to change that by thinking the same way. We're not going to be able to come up with these like new ideas or understandings of stuff like that by thinking the same way and trying to solve the problem from the same point of view. Now, if you've got when other people are available that think differently and have different wiring and are able to like see a way out of this problem, or see a way to refine and make something better, or scrap a whole program and redevelop it, and be more open to redeveloping it too, not being so attached to this is the way we do things, this is how it's done, this is what's going on, and being more open to being like, well, that's not working, let's try something different. I feel that a lot of people kind of hold on to, there's a lot of people out there that hold on to the way things are done because it's just simply the way it's done. Or they dress in a way that's just safe, like not drawing a lot of attention to themselves. This is just how they're dressed. Or even like, I know it sounds silly, but you can go for people to like when it comes to like changing your hair even, or trying new foods, or trying different exercise, or going to get like Reiki or a meditation night, or anything, really anything that's kind of out of their comfort zone or out of what their routine. It's better to get out of your routine. It's better to change things up and experience different things, because that's what life is, and that's how problems are going to get solved more easily, whether it gets solved through that or you learn through whatever you're trying to change and then you do something different again. Sorry, this is a little all over the place, but I just want to encourage those of you who feel like you don't fit in sometimes, regardless of what's going on, on a neurological level, like typical or anything else. It's important to to value those unique thoughts and pay attention and listen. There's many times where, I'll be doing something with someone and my Virgo rising will kick in and they're not doing, this could be something like really simple, like we're cooking together and cutting vegetables and I'm like, oh, that's not how I cut my vegetables. And like, I have to like stop myself and be like, hey, this might be even better. Like, who knows? And like change my own, like catch myself basically from either being critical or being like, oh no, that's not the way I do it, to being like, well, everyone does it their own way. Maybe this is going to be an improvement, or I'm going to learn that, you know what, next time I'll cut the veggies, something like that. This could be even as simple as like the route you take to work, or the way that you go about your little path in life, like physically, like when you're driving around or walking or anything like that. Sometimes we're inspired to take these different paths. Like here in New York, it's like you can really get absorbed by that. You could really resonate with that if you're in the city, because literally whatever street you turn down, you have an opportunity to running into someone you know or someone you don't know, or having a chance to have a conversation or not, and just admiring the architecture you might not have seen that day, or having a moment to appreciate something. Even sometimes when I'm walking through the city and I might take a different street to get there, and I walk past like the guys who sell like roasted nuts or something, and it smells so delicious. And just for that moment, I'm like, this is why I walk down this street. I know that's certainly like silly, but it's true, like having those moments. So the point of this video is basically that we're all different, right? It should be more celebrated, and I think we should stop the whole of trying to fit someone into a box, or trying to make them communicate a certain way, or trying to have the relationships that we feel that they should have, when as long as they're happy and fulfilled, that's really what matters. Having different types of thinking, or just able to think in a bigger picture, or just having a different perspective in general, is a good way for us to kind of clean up some of the stuff that we've got going on that is kind of detrimental to our survival, whether it's like bee extinction or factory farming or clearing rainforests. Like, there's got to be a better way, right? We could get into this like really crazy. It's just kind of an example for right now. I definitely want to mention that I'm not an individual with autism, so if you're looking for information on ways to be an ally, to understand what it may be like to live with autism, or to have experienced things from a different perspective, you should definitely seek out their voice. On YouTube, there's many YouTube creators that are on the spectrum and create really wonderful videos. Ask an Autistic, Amethyst is one of my favorites. She's just super sweet and adorable, and more than that, she's very wise and has a great energy, and I really love her videos, and they've helped me a lot to become a better ally. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you found some of it something that you can think about, or just inspires you to do more research, or be a little more open-minded or supportive when something might come up that's not your way of thinking, but you can kind of be like, oh, you know what? Let's hear this out. Let's see how these veggies are going to come out, or whatever the case may be. We've all got our own ways of doing things. We all have our own way of expressing ourselves, and the sense of humor and style and taste. And that's something that's treasurable, that's really a wonderful thing in our environment, in our universe. Thank you again for your love and support. You know how much I appreciate it. From the bottom of my heart, as always, namaste.